what you gonna do? What you gonna do? And what you gonna do? And what you gonna do?
Alright, guys, we need to talk about Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan recently died at 71 years old. This guy had quite the career, some controversies on top of that, and let's get into it a little bit. Man, he was probably one of the most recognizable, if not the most recognizable, face of professional wrestling at one point, especially when I was growing up in the 80s. You didn't have anybody that reached his kind of star power when it came to the world of wrestling. I mean, I remember him, especially like the movie No Holds Bars, that came out in '89, and at that time I was probably 8 years old. So he was a monster of a man. His 24-inch pythons, it was one of those things where he encapsulated everything that we thought we wanted to be when we grew up, just a monster man. And he's got all these accolades. The only person to pick up Andre the Giant and slam him down, I mean, that by itself was impressive. But he was preceded before that with a lot of other legends of the industry. Macho Man, even though there was a car accident involved, I mean, they still stem from his heart. Mr. Perfect, he had the same problem. The heart gave out on him. Rick Rude, Ravishing Rick Rude, he was another legend, an asshole, but a legend. From my understanding of watching a bunch of videos and everything, they really painted him up to be a pretty crappy person. Let's see here. British Bulldog, that was another one. I mean, maybe a little later, I think, than Hulk Hogan. Because, Hulk Hogan's career really spanned such a long time in wrestling, especially with the WWF/WWE times. He was, but he did a lot with that. And then on top of that, Tiny Lister, who was his co-star in No Holds Barred, who went on to do movies like Friday and Fifth Element and, a lot of other stuff, as being the big man. Famous for the leg drop, probably one of the worst moves in professional wrestling, but, when I was a kid, I didn't care. The big boot and the leg drop were synonymous with Hulk Hogan, and you were always excited to see it when it happened. It was too early for me, but I mean, the Iron Sheik. Let's see, that was 1984, so I would have been 3 years old at the time, so before my time, but I definitely knew about it. I mean, that's when he first got the WWF Heavyweight Championship, and it was definitely U.S. versus Iran, which is obviously something that we still dealing with today, to be perfectly honest. That shit don't ever go away, does it?
War never changes.
He went on to go to WCW in '94, and feeling a little betrayed, because at the time I still watched professional wrestling back then. I watched wrestling all the way up into my high school years, which were in the '90s, and Hulk Hogan was still a big deal back then. But switching from WWE over to WCW was a betrayal in a way. He just should not have done that, in my opinion, because Hulk Hogan meant WWF at the time. But when he left and went on, I mean, I understand there was issues there and with him and Vince and everything like that, but at the same time, how could you, kind of deal? And then on top of that, then he went heel. And you went from being the all-American guy to being Hollywood Hogan. I fucking hated that shit, man. I mean, turning your hero into a bad guy, and I know wrestlers do it. It was something that every wrestler did, but not Hulk Hogan. I mean, that was one of those that you just didn't touch like that, but they did. And it wasn't WWF, it was WCW who did that and went along with it. And I know Hulk Hogan wanted to do something different. Hey, it was different, all right. I hated that shit. And I think a lot of people did too. I mean, he just did not come across as a good bad guy. And I was all about the NWO stuff when it was going down. But I did like that storyline. WCW needed something to be a little different at the time. I don't think that putting Hulk Hogan into it, he was a good antagonist for the WCW, not not him joining in, but everybody joined in eventually. I mean, shit, it eventually turned into like just what part of NWO you were in, and then started infighting, and that was the downfall of WCW in the end. They saw a good thing, they kept trying to run with a good thing, and just fell apart in the process. You know, all right, well, he had his TV show Trouble in Paradise in '94 as well, around the same time that he started that. It's hard to be a heel in the wrestling space and have a TV show where you're the protagonist. You can't be the good guy and the bad guy at the same time and expect that to work out well for you. And then he also had Hogan Knows Best running from 25 to 2007. That show was entertaining, I'll be honest with you. It showed a better light of his home life with his wife Linda at the time, daughter Brooke. You know, she's a smoke show, so nobody ever really complained about seeing her. And Nick. We all know that Nick had his own problems later on, but he's kind of faded into obscurity from what I can tell. I don't see much about him anymore. But back to Thunder in Paradise, that was Hogan's spy comedy with Chris Lemmon and Carol Alt. It was fun. It was funny. And as a kid, I thought it was great. You know, seeing Hogan in anything was fun for me. A lot of other wrestlers appeared on that show as well. Like, I saw that, like, Brutus Beefcake was on there. Ed Leslie, playing the role of Brutus. So he didn't really stretch his acting chops too much. But, hey, him, Jimmy Hart did a couple episodes. You know, it was, you know, the same old gang. Oh, yeah, controversy. Yeah, and then, of course, you know, the infamous downfall of Hulk Hogan, the video of him sleeping with Bubba Love Sponge's wife. And it looks like that was all set up to make him look bad, you know. But and then, of course, him dropping the N-bomb.
I want you to stop saying odd shit.
That was, it ruined his public image, you know. He was always squeaky clean, even when he was Hollywood Hogan and everything. That was the wrestling world, and then there was the real world, you know. He always, you know, he would separate that stuff, especially with the Hogan's Knows Best stuff, also coinciding with a lot of that. He didn't do the Undertaker route where he lived that persona on the outside. It wasn't like that. You know, Hulk Hogan was still Hulk Hogan when he was going around doing public appearances and stuff like that. He wasn't treating his fans like garbage, because there was still a lot of little youngins that looked up to him, and people my age that still looked up to him up until the video stuff came out, because, you know, he sued Gawker into the ground. I can't remember the exact amount, but it was enough to put that media empire completely out of business. So, you know, it's not a... And he won that, I think, what was it, 30 million something? I mean, I'm guessing, I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. I didn't research the exact number off of that. All in all, yeah, it kind of torn. How do you feel? I don't know how you guys feel about it, but me, I'm kind of torn about all this. You know, I hate to see or hear about a legend in the industry passing away, and but at the same time, he was his public image had been destroyed at some point. I know he tried to make a comeback doing appearances for Donald Trump, which I don't know if that's always your best thing. I don't hate on Trump or anything like that, but I'm also, is that what you want to attach your boat to? I don't know. Politics she's a weird beast, so I don't know about that. All in all, yeah, I'm very sad to hear about the passing of Hulk Hogan. You know, childhood hero. No matter what he did later on in life, it's still a hard pill to swallow. You know, this week we also lost like Ozzy Osbourne on top of that, which is, they talk about an icon with another guy with a reality show around the same time. So, you know, a lot of the legends in different industries, but legends all the same.
The cream of the crop.
This dying in 1 week is hard to deal with. That and Malcolm Jamal Warner from The Cosby Show, you know, old Theo. But his is a little bit more dramatic and, well, traumatic. You know, the drowning, trying to make sure his daughter didn't get swept out to sea which he succeeded, thankfully. Unfortunately, he lost his life in the process. But anyway, off topic. Now, but back on topic. In closing remarks, yeah, sad to see him go. Granted, he wasn't doing anything recently that I gave two shits about, but still, anytime you hear part of your childhood die, it's definitely a hard pill to swallow. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for today. Y'all be good to each other. Peace.